Hello everyone, so today I am here to do a book review on Dragon Springs Road by Janie Chang. Now let me preface this video by saying that I was sent a copy of this book by the author, but I wasn't even asked to do a review. Literally she was like, do you want a copy of my new book? And I was like, yeah. She was not asking me to do a review. I am choosing to do this, so obviously my opinion has not been swayed in any way. Basically, Janie Chang and I have talked a little bit on Twitter because I am a huge fan of her first novel, Three Souls, which is my all-time favorite book, and she knows this and I rave about it all the time online, and basically she must have recognized my name kind of thing and sent me a message and said, do I want this? So I was like, of course. And can we just take a moment to appreciate that these books go together so well? Like, we've got the woman with the parasol and a gorgeous little view of China, and I'm just like, oh my god, it's so nice. But yes, I have decided to do a review on this book because I ended up really enjoying it, and I want to tell everyone to go get it because today, January 10th, is its release date. So I hope everyone goes out and picks it up. I honestly would have bought it even if they hadn't sent me a copy of it. I have had my pre-order in for months, so yes, obviously I was very excited for this book. But first let me tell you guys a description of this book. This book is about a young girl named Jia who lives in 1908 China. Shanghai specifically, if you wanted to know. And it starts when she is a 7-year-old girl and she and her mom live in the western residence of a very rich man's house, and it's just her and her mom that live there, and they only get visits every once in a while from a man that she calls noble uncle. And one day her mom ups and leaves Jia there to be taken care of by a fox spirit. Fox is a spirit who helps women who are in trouble, or sometimes they do mischief, and sometimes they seduce men, but mostly this fox in this story is there to help Jia and her mom. After her mother leaves, another family moves into the house on Dragon Springs Road named the Yangs, and the Yangs decide to take Jia in because the grandmother is scared that she hasn't done enough good deeds to go off to heaven, so she decides to take Jia in as a servant, and Jia stays there and helps them with their everyday lives, as well as becomes really good friends with the youngest daughter, Anjuen. She also becomes friends with a little white girl named Anna who lives next door. Something about Jia that affects this entire story is that she is what Janie Chang describes as a Zong, which is a Eurasian person. Her father was white and her mother was Chinese. So this makes her life extremely difficult. It automatically just sparks hatred and discrimination even among strangers as she walks down the street as a little girl, and this causes a lot of hardships in her life. But as her life goes on, she actually ends up going to school and tries to get a job afterwards, and there is where our story kind of begins to unfold, is as she gets older and grows up and learns that she needs to do everything in her power to survive because the Yangs will not keep her forever, and she needs to make a life for herself. Now, my thoughts on this book. It is no secret how much I love Three Souls by Janie Chang. Again, it is my all-time favorite novel. It has been for 4 years since I read it, basically. I have been so excited for this novel since I read Three Souls and looked up Janie Chang and found her website, and this book was still just a little tiny blurb on her about the author page about how she was currently writing a historical fiction book set in China. It didn't have a name, it didn't have a premise, it had nothing, and that is how long I have been waiting for this book. Needless to say, when I found out that she wanted to send me a copy, I was ecstatic. I have an unboxing that I will link down below. I freaked out a little bit. It's been 4 years that I've been waiting for this novel, and I was nervous as hell because what if I didn't like it? I've had a couple of instances, especially this year actually, if you watched my Disappointing Books of 2016, where I read a couple of my favorite authors' books and I was quite disappointed with them. So honestly, going into this novel terrified me because I was like, what if I don't like it? What if it doesn't live up to Three Souls? What if it makes me not like Three Souls as much? Or something like that. And I was very scared going into it, not gonna lie. But I ended up really enjoying this book. I give it a 5 out of 5 stars, and you guys should know that I do not give out 5 out of 5 stars that easily. Usually I'm very stingy and I'll be like, okay, I really enjoyed this, 4.5 out of 5 stars. It takes a lot to get a 5 out of 5 stars. Although it did not live up to Three Souls, but like I've never had a book beat Three Souls, so I didn't expect it to. It was still so incredible, and definitely a book that I want to revisit in the future to reread and relook at, and I have all of my notes put in all throughout the book, and I would love to go back because like basically each time I've reread Three Souls it has a different color tab or dog ear or whatever. So this seems like a book that might become like that, where I reread it every once in a while and just find new things all throughout this book, because Janie Chang has such a way with words. One of the reasons I love her so much is because she's not overly flowery with her writing. I feel like when people think beautiful writing, they automatically think this beautiful, poetic, flowery crap, which I hate. I hate flowery writing. Janie Chang's writing is beautiful and simplistic. It is the kind of writing that it doesn't need a lot of description and pretty words and stuff to get its point across, and sometimes there have been a couple of sentences within this book and Three Souls that just literally punch you in the gut and you gotta go like, oh my god, holy crap. And those emotional kind of punches are what make me love Janie Chang so much, because I can't get through one of her books without feeling so many emotions. I felt so strongly for all of these characters and everything that was happening to them. Especially Jelling. I really loved her as a character. One of my biggest things I don't like about Three Souls is the main character is quite a brat at the beginning of the book. But obviously one of the things I love about the book is that she grows as a person so much. This Jelling was a character that I loved from the very first page all the way until the very end. Of course there were some things I didn't agree with her doing or saying. Like especially there are a couple times that she just says very hurtful words to some of her friends. And I was like, oh no, Jieling, please don't do that. But throughout the entire book, I wanted Jieling to have the best life. I wanted her to be happy, and I wanted her to find her way in this world that was so cruel to her. Of course, Janie Chang also likes to punch you in the face with just horrible things happening to her characters. Like, she's the worst to her characters sometimes, but that's okay. It makes the story really interesting to read about. But I absolutely love all of the characters in this book, Jieling especially, but I also loved Juin. I loved all of Jieling's friends. She makes quite a few friends at her mission school, who are also Zazong, who are Eurasian, and she becomes very good friends with them, and they always stay by her side. I just loved the friendship in this book, because it was like, they definitely could have just very easily fallen apart and just been characters that were mentioned while she was in her school days kind of thing, but they come back and they like are just always there for Jieling, and it made me so happy that Janie Chang put such an emphasis on these friendships. Also, one thing that Janie Chang puts such an emphasis on that I love so much is teachers and schooling. In Three Souls, Leian wanted to become a teacher and wanted to go to college, and it was a very big plot point in that book of going to school and being a girl in the 1930s China, wanting to go to school and everything. And this book, there is also such an emphasis on the importance of teachers and schools and learning. And I just love that so much, because I am a person who I think schooling and education and teachers are the most important things in life. Like, a teacher can make or break you as a student, and I feel like teachers are so incredibly important and don't get enough attention for what they do for children. So I absolutely love that Janie Chang put such an emphasis on that. Now, this plot is much more subtle than her previous novel. I must say, I don't know if this book is for everyone. Three Souls I feel like I can recommend to most people, at least most women. Most of the boys that I've recommended it to think it sounds really boring, and it definitely is more of a woman's kind of novel and like understanding Leian and kind of everything, but I've made so many people read that book and everyone loves it. This book is a little bit more subtle. Three Souls has a very structured plot line, while it's much more about the everyday, just little events that happen to Jieling throughout her life that shape her as a person. Of course, it does have an overarching plot, and especially one that happens about halfway through, that really kind of sets up the rest of the book, as well as there's always the plot point that Fox, the spirit, wants to go to the realm of the immortals. She wants to go through, there's a doorway that will open every once in a while, and she wants to go through that, because if you go through, you're in between, I could never figure out if it was in between Earth and Heaven, or if it was Heaven, but basically if you went there, you are immortal and you will live forever and live happily and your life will be great, basically. But mostly this book was much more about the just small little things that happened to Jiaoling throughout her life that shaped her as a person. But let me just tell you, the plot twists and stuff, some of the stuff that happens, especially towards the last 100 pages or so, were absolutely crazy, and they got very, very exciting. Honestly, the first half of this book is slower, but I personally liked how slow it went, but towards the end it gets much more exciting and much more like just absolutely crazy. Also, the ending of this book was absolutely perfect. This book had me just like crying tears of joy and happiness, but also like sadness just throughout the entire thing. Again, Janie Chang's books are just an emotional punch to the face. Overall, this book was just absolutely wonderful, beautifully written, beautiful characters, an amazing story, and I really, really loved it. And I really highly recommend that people go out and pick this up on its release day to support Janie Chang. She is such a wonderful woman, and I believe she just deserves so much more credit and attention to her books. But anyways, that is all I have to say on Dragon Springs Road. I hope you guys all enjoyed this review, and definitely tell me down in the comments below if you are planning on picking up this book, and if you do pick it up, please tell me what you think of it. I am so interested to hear what other people have to say, because I've seen a ton of my friends putting 3 souls on their to-read list, which makes me so, so excited. So I really want to see what you guys think of Janie Chang and her books, so definitely tell me down in the comments below. Anyways, I love you all, and I'll see you all soon. Bye!